Okay,
Because it's 4 o'clock, we can let people in.
okay.
I did.
Everyone is admitted.
Yeah. So recording start. Okay. So welcome to the February 26th, 2026. Did you say something, Laura?
Use the recording
Oh, I'm sorry.
message.
Welcome to the February 26th, 2026 special meeting of the Northampton City Council. I'm City Council President Rachel Maori, presiding with Vice President Deborah Clemmer. I now call the City Council to order. Can you take the roll, please?
Sure. Councilor Davis.
Here.
Present.
Okay. Councilor Dobbs.
Here.
Councilor Clemmer.
Here.
Councilor Loisel.
Here.
Councilor Maori.
Here.
Councilor Nabad.
Here.
Councilor Perry.
Here.
Councilor Robbins.
Here.
And Councilor Stratton.
Here.
Council President, you have a quorum.
Quorum, yeah. So no one's missing. I see everyone. Okay. Just like in council chambers, I'm announcing that you're being audio and video recorded here on Zoom. Tonight's meeting is a special meeting, so it will only be remote. And so, but I believe it will be broadcast on Comcast Channel 15. Yes.
Correct.
And streaming on Northampton Open Media. Special meetings don't require public comment, but because we had a new item, I wanted to add public comment. So I'm going to limit 20 minutes to public comment tonight before we get started. Yeah, so if you wish to make a comment, public comment, and you're on Zoom with us, you can use the raise hand feature. And you could, and as usual, just state your name, city or town for the record. And please feel free to share your pronouns. To ensure equal opportunity, we're going to do the 2 minutes, and after 2 minutes, we'll ask you to finish your sentence. We will not respond to comments as usual. And yeah, your protected speech is a constitutional right and one that we ask you to wield with consideration and respect for all, and with recognition that this is a public space, even on Zoom. And this is a freedom that we share equally with everyone. So, okay, so public comment, I'm going to look for hands. And there may not be any. I wanted to allow for it in case. Okay. Oh, I see one. Okay. Let me just get the. I see Ezekiel. Let's see. That work, Ezekiel? Oh, I think hold on just a sec. Welcome, Ezekiel.
Hi. Ezekiel Baskin. I live in Belchertown currently, but born and raised in Northampton and hope to return to Northampton in the near future. I just wanted to speak a little bit on the item and the rules to allow the city council to have an attorney. I was just really excited when I saw this because it seems like a really lovely common sense measure to allow the city council to just sort of have an attorney to really sort of hold their own as a branch of government, and also to be able to get opinions that might, I don't know, I feel like in most practices, in my work in public health and in the medical field generally, it's great to have a second opinion. And I see this as just a way for the council to maintain a second opinion, to have another perspective. That seems really, really valuable to me. And like it might add something really useful to the city government landscape. So I was excited to see this and just wanted to pop on today to encourage folks to try this out and see what it might do that's positive for the city government. Thank you all.
Thank you. Let's see. I see Kathy McNally asked to unmute. Let's see. Oh, I hope I did it. Yeah. Oh, did I just where'd she go?
Here.
Oh, good.
Hi.
Thought I pushed the wrong button. Welcome, Kathy.
Hi, everybody. It's Kathy McNally. I live on Gleason Road in Northampton. And basically, I want to echo what Ezekiel said. I think it's so exciting to have this discussion about another attorney accessible to the city council. And this has been such a long fought or discussed issue. And I know city councilors going way back have worked very hard on this and thought that it was a very worthwhile idea. So I do have to go out when it maybe is being discussed, but I am going to listen to the recording and get the transcript. And because I'm very interested in what people think of this. And I hope that everyone would vote to pursue it. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's see. I see Deb Henson. Okay, Deb, you should be able to speak.
And I'm trying to get my
Yeah, let me see.
my video on. Let's see.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Madam President and councilors. I'm Deb Henson from Ward 1, 118 Franklin Street, speaking today in support of Order 26.013, an order to amend council rules to create the position of attorney to the City Council. I have emailed lengthy reasons for my support of this necessary position and will now just touch on the highlights. Why does the City Council need its own lawyer? Lawyers' primary ethical duty is to represent and advise their clients, period. Some cities, including ours, believe that one city solicitor can handle this ethical mandate because the solicitor is envisioned as having only one client, the municipality. In reality, the city solicitor is guided and influenced by the mayor's policies. If those policies come into conflict with the city council's priorities, therein lies the rub, conflict of interest. Recently, the city council has advocated for and may continue to advocate for priorities and issues that are not fully supported by the mayor. The council, therefore, needs its own independent legal advisor for these situations where a conflict is apparent for the city solicitor. A separation of powers between the executive and legislative branches is necessary for appropriate representation of the residents of Northampton. If the elected officials, the councilors, cannot adequately represent the priorities of their constituents, the council is not able to effectuate its legislative and oversight powers. Thus, councilors are unable to adequately fulfill their elected functions and responsibilities for which they were elected. In closing, I urge all city councilors to vote in favor of an independent attorney specifically for the council. The iteration of this independent lawyer is not my concern here.
That's
Just
2 minutes.
finish up the sentence. Yes. My only concern is in Northampton have a truly representative elected legislative body with oversight powers so the priorities and values of the taxpayers and voters of this city are truly and independently represented. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Sorry for the dog.
You're dog friendly. I'm just gonna see if there's any other hands. Okay. I'm not seeing any other hands, so we will move on to our agenda items. So next on our agenda is let's make sure I'm correct about this. Yes. Is the 26.008 appointment of Attorney Alan Seawald as city solicitor. The history on this one is it was referred to city services. Second time was the charm. And that was January 15th and was sent back to city services with sent back to us from city services, which met on February 24th with a neutral recommendation. And before we get started, I thought maybe Chair Dubs, would you like to speak to the committee's recommendation? And then hopefully we'll get a motion on the floor to discuss more further. But
sure, thank you. Yeah, we kind of talked about it for a while, and we went back and forth, not quite sure whether we should have a positive recommendation, which would have ended up having 2 no votes because 2 of the members stated pretty clearly that a positive recommendation would not they wouldn't be fully comfortable with that, mainly because of the conversation we're having tonight about the upcoming proposal from Councilor Stratton. So they wanted to wait, sort of give a neutral. They were more comfortable with a neutral recommendation, and so we ended up going with that, with neutral recommendation. But it would have, I stated that I would have been comfortable with a positive recommendation, as well as Councilor Clemmer also stated that she would have voted for a positive recommendation. So that was the reason we went with neutral, just so that, because we didn't want to have, they also stated, other councilors also stated they didn't want to vote no, so they would have preferred to vote yes on a neutral. So,
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. And
Okay.
I see, thank you. And were you finished up, Chair?
Yeah,
Bell?
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
good. Councilor Loisel.
Thank you. I just lost my ear thing. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So I just wanted to, for the purpose of discussion, to make a motion that we approve the appointment so that we can then discuss that matter.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
I think I
Second.
saw Councilor Perry. But I think I heard somebody else.
Sorry, I'll second. I'm just used to raising my hand.
No, I know and we did Zoom for so long and I feel like it's not second nature anymore. Okay, so we have a motion made by Councilor Loisel, a second by Councilor Perry to approve 26.008. So yeah, I think I see Solicitor Seawald is here, and I know he'd be maybe you would just want to say a word or two, and then I know that he'd be available for questions as well. So are you unmuted? No. Yeah, I think you're unmuted, right, Solicitor?
I am, thank you.
Okay.
And my apologies. For some reason, I thought this was at 5, and so I've been sitting here in my office busily working, and my apologies.
No, that's okay. It's an odd time.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to thank all of you for consideration of my reappointment. I just want to introduce, I know some of you fairly well, some of you I don't know quite as well. So let me just introduce myself. I'm Alan Seawald. I've lived here in Northampton for 45 years. I've been practicing law for 41 years, and of those 41 years, I've been practicing municipal law for 41 years. I've been counsel for Amherst. I've been counsel for municipalities of all sizes, from special counsel to the city of Boston to special counsel to the Whately Planning Board and everything in between. You know, I've dedicated my life, my professional life, to representing local communities, and I've really enjoyed doing it. It's been a great career. When Mayor Narkowitz 14 years ago asked me to serve my home community, I was really thrilled to be asked, and I jumped at the opportunity. I don't know if any of you were around and paying attention back then, but it took me several months to get out of cases that I was involved in against the city of Northampton back then. And I was happy to do that, although it was a bit arduous at times. And I've really cherished the opportunity to represent my home community, my adopted home community, for 45 years. And, you know, I'm happy to answer any questions. Let me just say what my philosophy is in the representation of municipalities, and this is true of any large institution. I represent the institution. That's you can't do this for 41 years and take sides. So I represent the institution. My role is to give advice that's in the best interest of the city. Often that's also in the best interest of the person asking for the advice, but my job is to give advice that is in the best interest of the city as a whole. And the city is my client, and I have never lost sight of that for a minute in the 14 years that I've been doing this. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Solicitor. Councilor Loisel. you're the motion maker, so yeah, why don't you?
I think you're, again,
Great.
There- got
I'm
it.
unmuted, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to, I wanted to speak to this matter that's before us. I spoke to about a half a dozen former city councilors because I'm a new councilor who worked with Solicitor Seawald, and these are the things they said. He's knowledgeable about municipal and state law. He knows zoning, conflict of interest, open meeting laws, and regulations. He has encyclopedic knowledge of the Northampton City Charter. He's objective and fair. He's very knowledgeable and helpful around ordinance proposals and the charter review process. And if there are matters he doesn't know about, he does his research. And as he said just now, he was city solicitor or town solicitor for Amherst for 7 years, Westminster for 8 years. I don't know where else, and I noticed that he's done a presentation on the Uniform Commercial Code. So one person even told me that at a meeting with other city solicitors at the MMA, they spoke about him as one of the best in the state. So I see no reason not to confirm this request for reappointment. And I also see this issue as separate from the one we're going to discuss next. That whatever we do now with this won't preclude us from doing whatever we want to do with with Councilor Stratton's proposal. So I just respectfully request that we keep this conversation to this question only, because we're going to talk about the other thing later. So that's it from me.
Thank you. Let's see. Councilor Nabad and then Vice President.
Yes, thank you so much. So I guess the way I feel about this is that Solicitor Seawald has a good resume, and he seems to be qualified. He has a proven record of serving the city in the interest of the city. And I can't think of any reason to oppose this. Solicitor Seawald, I appreciate your service over the last 2 or maybe even 3, if you count that Mayor Nakowitz, I think, served for 2 cycles. And if it's been 12 years, then you have worked with 6 rounds of city councilors, which is admirable. And so,
7.
I would support this. Thank you.
thank you. It's been 14 years and 7 councils.
All right, 7 councils.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nabad. Vice President Clemmer.
Thank you. Like Councilor Dubb said, I voted with a positive recommendation for Solicitor Seawald at City Services. I strongly support the reappointment of Solicitor Seawald for another term. During my previous term, on the occasions when I reached out to him, he responded promptly and provided clear, accurate information and thoughtful explanations. His professionalism and reliability have been consistent. Last term, there was an unfortunate effort to discredit department heads, elected officials, and Attorney Seawald. I believe those attacks were unwarranted and did a disservice to dedicated, highly qualified public servants who work hard on behalf of our community. I do not see a need for council to retain separate legal counsel at this time. In the event of specific conflict of interest, we can and should consult outside counsel as appropriate.
That's the later, that's Vice President, yeah, that's the later conversation.
But I strongly support Solicitor Seawald for another term. And thank him for his service.
Councilor Robbins.
Hi, and thanks. I'm also on City Services, and we had a good discussion, and Solicitor Seawald really was an excellent presentation. It was good to listen to him. I know I've observed his work myself for a number of years. The question in front of us at that time, though, was we had some questions about the nature of the city's contract. And I think Alan Seawald told us it's the same one that you've had for many years, council. And that's great, but we haven't seen it. And I was hoping that we could, know what really we're voting on. And I'm a little hesitant to think about it without that. Does anybody have that? I don't.
Let's see, Laura, we have, we looked at one contract, which, Alan Wolf said was the same, I believe, the same thread of a contract, like it was, nothing changed except I think, a slight COLA increase. So the base, we've seen the base contract, and did I share that with you, Council Robbins?
No, but if you've seen it, then I can ask you a question, which is there anything in there that says that council can't hire our own solicitor? If the city hires,
I don't believe this is, I couldn't say yes or no without looking it up, but I don't believe so. I think it's just about the law firm, Solicitor Seawald. And
I mean, that's the caveat that I would kind of want to be assured of and would be happy with, if we knew that that was still an option for us.
okay, well, while we talk, I see, Solicitor Seawald.
If I may, Council Robbins, I can absolutely confirm to you that I would sign no contract that limited the ability of the city or any agency who was authorized to hire counsel to do so. I would never sign that contract. And I can assure you that the contract I have with the city is a basic form contract that the city prepared, and it says nothing about counsel for the council at all.
That's very reassuring. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Davis, I believe.
Yes, most of what I was planning on saying has been said. I guess I would want to echo the professionalism and the short time that I've been on council and on the city council, from the council, and efficiency, timeliness. I asked a couple of questions that I thought felt a little silly, but important to me. And I didn't feel that way when Councillor Seawald got back to me. And so I would definitely support renewing his contract.
Thank you, Councillor. I believe I'm going to go to Councillor Stratton because he hasn't spoken, and I'll go to you, Councillor Nabad.
So I thought, the city services meeting was actually extremely informative, and I really have to thank Councilor Robbins for her questions, and Attorney Seawald and Chief of Staff Wolf for some of their responses on that, because I think we learned a whole lot about how this worked. I had previously done some research on the roles that are assigned to the city solicitor. Essentially it just says that with the approval of the mayor, the solicitor may advise any department head. I mean, there are official roles in relative to like enforcement actions with boards and things, relevant to the ordinance review committee that's actually mandated by the charter. But, there's nothing in writing that assigns the city solicitor to the city council other than this general with permission of the mayor. And I was very pleased to, just hear that confirmation of the contract details. So that leaves me a lot more comfortable. And, Tuesday, I was still trying to figure out, what exactly would we be recommending if we made a positive recommendation? And my feeling has always been that I want the mayor to have her choice of executive branch attorney, just as I want the council to have the option to possibly pursue our own choice. And so, I've enjoyed my brief conversations with Attorney Seawald. I mean, we had a great little discussion at the inauguration meeting, and I've enjoyed working with him. There've been some times when maybe I thought I wanted a different legal opinion, but I would really like to be approving Attorney Seawald as, the city solicitor in the way that it is formally defined. And my comfort with doing that has been really growing this week with the information that's come out. So, I'm not quite going to apologize for the neutral recommendation, but I feel that was expressing a caution that I've now been able to step back from some. That I thought it was where we were with information at the start of that meeting, and by the end of it and thinking about it since, I've grown a lot more comfortable. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I appreciate that. Councilor Nabad.
Yes, I just want to acknowledge how helpful Attorney Seawald was when I was trying to decide if I could. I was trying to figure out. I didn't want to leave the Northampton Housing Partnership, and so he was very helpful in helping me out with that, and figuring out if that would be a conflict of interest or not. And so I really appreciate that. And there is something that I did hear in the city services meeting, and I want to acknowledge it, and I want it to be recognized that in the time that Solicitor Seahall has been with us, he started at $150 an hour, and in the 14 years that he's been with us, has only had a $50 raise. You know, I could go haul tile over on Nantucket and make $200 an hour. So I just want to thank him for his service. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Perry.
Still over here keeping it old school. The I want to just agree with a lot of the things people have said. Solicitor Seawold has been invaluable in my time as a counselor. One of the hardest things that I deal with in terms of being not only a person who rents, a person who runs venues and spaces, has been Solicitor Seawold's consistency with it's not an individual issue. This is about the city. I worked closely, as Councilor Dubs did, on the Ordinance Review Committee, just trying to navigate some of the things. Often, and anyone who wants to understand what I'm saying can look at the recordings. I would hear Solicitor Seawold over my shoulder, being like, "I think this might run afoul of something," and he was quick to just pop in and say something. He has been consistently a vigilant advocate for the city. And so that is why I am so excited to support his continuance as our solicitor, because someone who understands that the city is above the mayor, it's above the council, it is above different departments, is important. I tell folks all the time that we are a city that is run by people, and people problems are what we deal with here on the council. And Solicitor Seawall has shown me that every time, is that people are at the forefront. And so I thank you for your advice. I thank you for your dealing with silly questions from me and other folks, but it has been consistent. And so I will vote yes to approve this. And I think that as we talk about the separation of powers, it's important to understand that we have people in our city who understand that the city is above the individual institutions, and I'm thankful that Solicitor Seawall has demonstrated that for years.
Thank you. Boy, everyone's on fire today. I'm going to take a moment to speak as the I guess the counselor with the most experience, going in my 7th year on council. And it took me a while to kind of understand the role of a city solicitor. It's not, I kind of thought it was this really cut and dry, one answer science. And it turns out it's not, that there's gray areas, there's different opinions, and there's just emerging issues all the time. When I began a few months into my first term, Solicitor Seawald was then fielding remote meetings and masking and all sorts of things and at the same time, kind of a blowing up of social media use. And there really, I remember at that time, it really wasn't, that was before I think it went to the Supreme Court, but there was no real cut and dry answers about counselors on social media. And there was some guidelines, but, and often things also evolve and change depending on the case, what goes to what the court cases and all that. So I learned all that about municipal law. But I still thought I still thought Solicitor Seawald was kind of a mystery. because I would talk to other lawyers, they'd know a lot, but municipal law is very particular, and you can know a lot about a subject and still kind of miss how that plays out or applies at the city level and the town level. It was one item. I think it was, what term was that? I guess it was, oh boy, I've been here too long if I don't know what term, but it was when we wanted to add a social equity clause to the capping of cannabis institution, cannabis stores. And it was a real debate in our community. It was actually very stressful because it just wasn't, people were just in almost equal camps, kind of pro and against capping. And they weren't necessarily done by, it wasn't who you usually might have been on one side with or the other. And in fact, it was very close vote, but council did add caps, but and that was a case where the mayor was, against any kind of cap at that time, but then like the health commissioner was for the cap. Anyway, it was very, it was a very loaded issue, and we were all stressed out. And I remember at a meeting, looking over at Solicitor Seawald, we were at a break, and he looked really peaceful. And I said, I kind of started talking to him, and he said, "This is why I got into municipal law." He was, I could see he was so engaged. He thought he thought the kind of nuance, even the kind of gray area was challenging and engaging. And basically what I'm trying to say is Solicitor Seawald seriously nerds out to this stuff, and we benefit from that. So thank you, Solicitor Seawald. I've learned so much from you, and I'm excited to continue to do so. So is there any other comments before we move on? There is a motion on the floor and a second. Motion to approve. So if there's no other comments, Laura, oh, yeah.
Can I call the vote?
Well, we were about to vote, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if somebody had to say, can we vote?
Oh, no, but I appreciate that. Okay, Laura.
Okay. Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councillor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councillor Loisel.
Yes.
Councillor Maori.
Yes.
Councillor Nabad.
Yes.
Councillor Perry.
Yes.
Councillor Robbins.
Yes.
And Councillor Stratton.
Yes.
Okay. So that passes unanimously, and we get to have some more time with Solicitor Seawald. Thank you so much for being here, Solicitor.
Thank you all so much. I look forward to working with all of you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Bye-bye now.
Great evening. Okay. So we only have a couple more items, but so the next one is the 2026.013, in order to amend the council rules to create the position of attorney to the city council. The history of this one is that it was introduced as new business, written new business, February 5th. And so I placed it on the next agenda. Just a point of information that amendments to council rules require only one reading. This does not need to be referred. It can be referred, but it does not need to be. But it does, I believe, it has to pass by a 2/3 vote, which, if we're all present, is 6. Yeah. So why don't we put a motion? I'd like to actually put a motion. Well, if it's okay, why don't we go to the sponsor first? Councillor Stratton.
All right. Do you want me to read the text, or I've also sort of prepared an explanation, which is some ways more interesting to me, but
right. Well, I'm looking at that. I'm fine with you just kind of giving your points, because I can see the link myself, but if anyone would like him to read it verbatim, we can do that. I don't see
I
any.
think he should read it so that the public can hear it.
That's
Okay.
a good point.
Is there any chance Laura could screen share it, or I guess I can?
Yes,
but,
we can screen share.
Is Laura going to do it, or should I?
I think we. Hold on.
I will. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Trying to
Take your time.
Sorry, anybody else might be quicker. I'm on a different.
Well, let me see if I
I'm
can.
not right on the edge of the-
No, that's okay. I'm going to, and we'll see who gets there first.
I've got it, I think.
Oh, really?
That up?
Yes, I see it.
All right. 26.013, an order to amend council rules to create the position of attorney to the city council. Ordered that the following amendments are made to the council rules. Under section 2.3, council president powers and duties. The powers and duties of the council president shall include all duties pursuant to the charter, and also adding, to appoint and contract an attorney to the city council, to supervise that individual in that position generally. The appointment or dismissal of the attorney to the city council must be ratified by a majority vote of the city council. The council president may contract his or her appointee, or alternately, the previous attorney to the city council, on a temporary basis until the city council has voted on ratification of a new appointment. However, such temporary contract shall not exceed a period of 90 days. In no event shall the council president contract the attorney to the city council beyond the current term of the city council. And then section 2.7, attorney to the city council, qualifications. The attorney to the city council shall be admitted to practice as an attorney in the courts of this Commonwealth in the U.S. District Court for Massachusetts. The attorney to the city council shall hold no other office under the city government while under contract with the city council as its attorney. And duties, the attorney to the city council shall provide the city council with legal services and with the consent of the council president may advise any member of the city council on any question of law connected with the discharge of his or her duties. The attorney to the city council shall be paid from the city council's legal services budget, subject to appropriation. I also have a few remarks on this, if I could, an explanation if I could be permitted to share that. The idea that the city council might have its own legal representation is not a new one. For example, the 2009 report of the Ad Hoc Committee on Best Practices, actually you can't see that because I'm screen sharing, but Ad Hoc Committee on Best Practices in Decision Making suggests considering providing independent legal counsel. Interest in that idea has continued, and before we took office, there was momentum to find a time for a discussion. To provide a blueprint underlying that discussion, I've researched and written up what the mechanism could look like if we were to choose to proceed, and that's what I just read. So Section 2.8 of the 2012 Modern Charter gave the council a new power. Subject to appropriation, the city council may employ staff as it deems necessary. In 2014, this was used to hire Pamela Powers as the council's first administrative assistant, the position established under council rules, which Laura occupies today. This replaced a role which had originally been filled by the city clerk, and under a 2004 special act became a part-time council clerk in practice shared with appointed boards. But under the brand new charter, the council could simply, as a council rules exercise, employ staff. So I've used this council rules establishment of our own unique administrative assistant as a blueprint for how our council president could appoint our own attorney. I've taken the language for their attorney qualifications from the administrative code, where the city solicitor is defined as a mayoral appointee. And to be clear, the administrative code defines only executive branch employees. Laura's job is defined only in the council rules and not in the administrative code. It has been argued that a city solicitor serves the whole of government, and counter-argued that there is an inherent conflict of interest in serving executive and legislative branches, which may disagree on boundaries of respective authority. Even if one were to accept the idea that there could be a neutral party, just as I wish to allow the mayor her choice of legal counsel, as in fact we just did, I consider it equally important that the selection of the best provider of legal advice to the city council be a selection made not on behalf of the council by the mayor, but by the council itself. I'm interested to hear my colleagues' thoughts on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. So counselors, any questions for Counselor Stratton or comments? I see Counselor Loisel.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to this at all. I know it's been under discussion for many council terms, but I feel like I have questions about, like, the order is a little bit vague, especially in terms of money. And so I feel like I need to know, what will the cost be? Does it mean we can't consult with Solicitor Seawald? I'm wondering, basically, I guess it's the cost and how it would work. And and where the money would come from. Would it come from the city council budget, which I don't even know how much our budget is, but so I feel like it's something that's worth definitely considering, especially because so many past city councilors have brought it up, but it's a little vague as we're looking at it now. So,
thank you. Councillor Stratton, do you want to answer back, and then Councillor Robbins had her.
Okay. So very briefly, I think I wrote this to explore the possibility. In city services, we learned that Solicitor Seawald is billing by the hour at a relatively good rate for municipal services of $200 an hour. He is already billing to work with the city council. He reported that that was a fairly small part of his billed hours, but it is independently tracked, and I would be very interested in knowing, what those hours were. So my thinking is that we're almost not changing mechanism as much as just bringing in an alternate provider. When I wrote this, I was very much thinking that the city council would have its own person that it almost always worked with. Subsequently, hearing some other thoughts and some things that may come up today, I'm more open to different versions of this. So I would really like to hear other people's thoughts.
Thank you, Councillor. I think Councillor Robbins.
Yeah, and to build on that, we did learn a lot in that session. It was super informative. And I actually did the numbers, and I think at this point, Solicitor Seawald basically bills for about 13 hours a week, and that's city side and council side. And he said not many of those are council hours, but he does bill separately. So there's some record of that, which would be interesting to see. It doesn't sound like we use a solicitor very much on council. So my thinking about it is that having an independent solicitor that we can draw on would give us the same structure the city has, because I was also surprised to hear from Solicitor Seawald that the amount of money that the city pays for solicitors for attorney fees is more than double what he earns. And we have a number of different people we contract with outside of employing him as our sole solicitor. And we use their expertise in particular areas. And it just seems like it would be a very good idea to be able to have the access to that on the council side as well when we see the need. And I think in order to do that, we would have to enter into some sort of contractual agreement with whoever it was that we chose to do that, but it doesn't necessarily mean we need to do that. And I think in answer to Councillor Loisel's question about the money, that's an appropriation that we would ask for from the city in the same way it would be if we needed to use an outside resource, the way that the city does. So it's a conversation with the mayor and with finance about how we would make that work. But I think we have kind of the right to ask for that and to pursue that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nabad.
Thanks. I don't necessarily agree with this, but it just brings up so many more questions. So I think, I guess one thing that I think of is like, the school department has an attorney that they can confide with and ask questions of, and there are different departments that have attorneys that specialize. And so I guess like the thing that I have confusion about, I guess, is how would we afford this during such difficult times right now? The other thing is that I feel like it's worth exploring in many ways, but it would probably take time. And then exploring it, we might find that it's completely unnecessary. And, so do we want to put in a lot of time? And I think of it as, as it being more of just part of a longer process, like we would have to agree on, what we would consider as qualifications for someone. We would have to agree on, we would have to make agreements on how we would go about choosing someone. We would make agreements on the times that would warrant someone to use this attorney. And so, I'm just putting it out there. At the same time, I've been serving in the city for a few years, and it's been okay for me in terms of reaching out to Solicitor Seawalt, because the most pressing things that I would run into are like open meeting law questions, which we can also contact the AG if we don't want to speak with Attorney Seawalt. So those are just some things that I'm thinking about. Thanks.
Thank you. I see the mayor has her hand up. Councilor Stratton, did you want to just briefly answer to any of the specific things that Councilor Nabad was kind of, I guess, asking in some sort, and then we'll go to the mayor.
Well, I think I will just very briefly. I mean, the city is already paying for the city council to receive legal advice from Solicitor Seawald. So I see it as more of a change of provider than necessarily a new budget line. And that is information that has come to me only this week, that understanding. But I would like to continue with the roundtable input.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor.
Good afternoon, councilors. I just wanted to share some information based on questions that came up and correct something that I heard. So first, I can tell you that the council, and so in FY24, the council used 89.5 hours of legal time. In FY25, it was 102 hours. And in FY26, so the first 2 quarters of FY26, it's been 50 hours so far. And then I just wanted to correct one thing that I heard. So yes, the Northampton Public Schools has an attorney who is actually the same labor attorney that the city uses for all of our labor negotiations. So she actually does a lot of work for the city as well. And then Smith Voc has a labor attorney that they use. But other than that, the different departments within the city don't have their own attorneys. So that would all be organized through Solicitor Seawald. So we, as I think you learned the other day, we do use outside counsel for specialized situations when we need, whether it's an environmental attorney or, again, a labor attorney, things like that. So, but the individual departments don't have their own attorneys. That's all organized through our legal services.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Councilor Davis.
Thank you. I also have the cost question. I don't think it's a small matter to say, oh, we'll just get an appropriation. Of course, we're allowed to ask, of course, but I think that that's something to consider. I continually come back, even though I think it's important and necessary to, when a good idea comes along, to explore it. I absolutely don't think that we should just do things just because that's how we do them. That's not how I think of things. However, to me, I'm just not sure that this is a good use of our time to explore this extensively. Even though I guess it's an interesting idea, but now based upon the information that the mayor just offered about the different departments besides the school department, and Smith Voc do not have their own attorneys. Certainly I could see, if we were going to expand on that, I could totally see how the fire department probably has very specialized things that they would need to deal with. The police department has very specialized things that they would be exploring legally, and on and on. I mean, DPW, they've got big machinery. There's, all kinds of labor law involved, and they don't have a special attorney. So just going along with that line of thinking, I think it makes sense that why would the city council? And I find, again, admittedly, I'm new on the city council, but in my short experience with Solicitor Seawald and my experience with the school committee attorney, highly professional, knowledgeable resource there for us.
Thank you, Councilor Davis. I see Vice President Clemmer. I just wanted to insert a thought here. I have further thoughts and I'll wait till everyone else has spoken, but just to say that, you know, City Council isn't really a department like other departments. We're legislating, we have open meeting law concerns. There's some ways in which we can compare ourselves to other departments, and there's some ways that we can't. I think that we have unique legal service needs, is all I'm saying. Yeah, so I'm going to just continue with councilors who haven't spoken. Councilor Clemmer, or Vice President Clemmer.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Councilor Davis said and others. And the big question is, where is the money going to come from? It seems like there's a good chance another lawyer will charge way more than $200 an hour. How is this time that with this other lawyer going to be divided amongst the counselors? Is there really a need? We all sound like everybody voted positively for Attorney Seawald, and I think if there was a conflict of interest or something that he felt he wasn't able to help us with, we would be given outside counsel. Correct me if that's wrong, but so I think money and time. Like, we don't have a budget for legal fees. We use the city's budget, and is this a good use of our money and our time to go searching for another lawyer? And how many lawyers would want to take on city council? It's not, what, 80 something hours is not a lot of time. It's 2.5 weeks of work. So, is it worth another lawyer's time to take us on here and as part of their business? Because they'd have to get up to speed learning what we do and learning how Northampton works and specifics to our city. So it's not like people would be fighting over the 80 hours a year.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Robbins.
Thanks. When we were at MMA, I spent time at the trade show and I was getting stuff other than things you can squeeze. They all had little squeeze balls or squeeze rabbits or whatever. And I got a chance to talk to a bunch of different people who do it the same as we do or do it differently, but they did have a lot of attorneys there. So when I spoke with people at their booths and said, do you work for city councils? A number of them did. And the reason that they employed it, and I talked to a couple of people who are on either select councils or city councils from other regions of ours, is pretty much the same iteration as we've been hearing over the years from people who've been on the council before us. This is part of the, I think it was 2009 best practices proposal. This is part of something that Bill Dwight and Ryan O'Donnell proposed. It goes back quite a way. And so if you build on the recommendations of folks who have seen a need to having specialist information when we need it, there are people who do that work. And there are organizations that actually have people who specialize in those particular areas. I'm without pointing a finger at it, I, as an observer, have run across a number of times over the years where I think we could have used more specialized on-the-spot information in order for council to make decisions at that time. And it doesn't mean that in the long run, stuff doesn't get ironed out or it comes out the way it comes out, but a couple of them were really pretty unfortunate. I don't know if the outcome would have been different if we'd been able to call on other attorneys for that, but I know that I wish that we had, and I'm following on the recommendations of counselors who've come before us to say, I personally think maybe would revisit this particular order and modify it somewhat. So maybe holding on a vote on it and bringing it up at another occasion, especially since we've already approved Attorney Seawald as representing whatever at this point. But really seriously saying we might need to know more about the why The funding of it is certainly a question, but what happens for the mayor side of it is also reflective of what we need for the council side. And so it sounds like there's more information that we need. I wonder if we could consider revisiting this in the near future and maybe taking some responsibility to doing a little bit more research.
Councillor Dove.
Thank you. My thoughts are kind of similar to Councillor Robbins. First, I want to thank Councillor Stratton for bringing this proposal to the council, and this is an idea that I've heard kind of floated around since I've been councillor, and I've always thought that it was an interesting idea of having an independent counsel or independent attorney to the council, and so I do think it's conceptually I would approve of that because I think it's something worth exploring. However, I do think that the order as it is, like the language as it is, I don't feel like is necessarily that we all would feel ready to pass that tonight, because there are a lot of questions that have come up, which I think are valid questions and that are worth exploring. So I think I agree with Councillor Robbins that this is something we should consider exploring, and that I would feel comfortable voting on at another time maybe, but as it is now, I don't necessarily feel comfortable voting to approve that. Thanks.
Thank you. I see Councillor Stratton, Councillor Perry, and I was going to share some general thoughts. Councillor Stratton, are you okay if Councillor Perry goes and I go with our general thoughts, and then we circle back with your, okay, great.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a redirection idea, but I'd like everyone to, get their word in first. So
okay, great. Councillor Perry.
I have some thoughts, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to get into a question. And the question is directed to Solicitor Seawold, and
I don't think he's here. I told him he could go.
Okay. So I will pose or posit this to everyone else, because I watched the city services meeting, and I've been a part of this conversation for a couple years now. And it really is whether or not, if Solicitor Seawold felt he could not handle a situation, would he bring in another lawyer to handle things? There are things that I have been aware of that he didn't. Like, he focuses on municipal law. But there's things that come under the city solicitor kind of umbrella that we hire other folks to. So not all of the money that is put forward for the solicitor is going directly to Solicitor Seawold. And so I'm wondering whether or not this is not a question that can be handled. Like, if we needed exclusive representation, could not Solicitor Seawold or that be handled? And so obviously he's not here, but really for me is, why would we hire someone to deal with a potential problem? Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why or are we the body that has the actual expertise to hire or say that we need this specific representation? And that is my crux. I have a bunch of other things to say, but I will move on to the next person. But that is very important to me, is are there examples of ways in which we feel that the current situation has failed us?
Thank you. I see Councillor Loisel. I don't know, and the mayor also.
I have something else to say, but you should go first because you haven't spoken yet, and I can.
Oh, well, the mayor, Mayor, were you going to answer a question, or are you just going to?
I would just like to, so I served with former councilors Dwight and O'Donnell, and I don't believe that they ever suggested that the council should have its own attorney. I served with both of them for a period of time. I served with Councilor O'Donnell the entire time, and with Councilor Dwight till he stopped serving.
Okay.
So I just wanted to correct that record.
Thank you. Councilor Loisel, and then maybe I'll go. Or,
Are you sure you don't want to go? Okay.
Okay, sure. I'll just, yeah, so I appreciate the, the thoughtfulness of, I think that Councilor Stratton is quickly learning, sometimes when you have something in front of you, it's the conversation's more focused and more specific. I have, there have been times I've wanted a second opinion and have gotten a second opinion. And this is maybe a little bit of a different kind of goal than what Councilor Stratton is talking about, because it's nothing to do with the opinion I got from, it's nothing to do with like the quality of like Councilor Solicitor Seawald's opinion. But when there's a gray area and there's a lot at stake, I have found a second opinion helpful. It doesn't come up very often. And I've written, legislation, and that's when it comes up. I mean, open meeting law, every once in a while, yeah, there's something we have to kind of talk a little deeper about, but it's usually when I'm trying to write some complicated legislation. And so there's been times, so the second opinions I've gotten have been helpful. They have been free. Sometimes, I mean, they've generally been free because they're causes I'm working on, like reproductive health data or policing or something. They can be tricky because they may know about that subject matter, but municipal law and how it all interacts with our city is a different matter a little bit. So there have been times that I would have liked to have a second opinion, and it's nothing to do with anything about Solicitor Seawald's opinion, but more to do about the area of municipal law, which is just, pretty tricky. And because Solicitor Seawald's role is advisory. I mean, we don't have to do what a lawyer tells us to do, but because we do, because we're reasonable people, it is very impactful, his opinion that he renders. And so on very weighty things, I think it's, like anything else, a second opinion can be helpful. But again, I don't think it comes up very often. I appreciate this model. I do, I think it's the question of, my questions when I look at this are, do we want to be locked into one lawyer, or do we, and this model would absolutely take collaboration with the mayor. So that's a whole another kind of, I mean, it's possible we could implement this, but it would be meaningless without any funding. So that's more of a, that's a part of this that we would have to discuss. And just really other models. I'm just curious about other models. I know Deb Henson sent us some from other cities that may suit us better. Because from what I gather and see, for it, and every council's different. I mean, but it comes up, but doesn't come up constantly for me personally. And in that kind of model, it might be more of a very like once a term or once a year, allotted amount for a second opinion by councilors. And I know budgets are tight, but in this landscape, it's critical that we actually spend the money on this kind of legislative know-how, to when we're pursuing things. Poorly written or not legal legislation is full of potholes too. So I think it's a really interesting conversation. And I remember when I was on first on council, former councilor Lisa Klein and Jesse Adams had been looking into a retainer, different kinds of structures, like having a small retainer, not a dedicated lawyer, but a retainer to allow counselors when needed to in a very minimal way to get a second opinion. And I haven't had the chance yet to talk to the mayor about this because I did kind of propose that a very small amount in our council budget this year as a kind of a conversation point when I get to speak to the mayor about, are there ways to do that are less of a commitment, less, that really meet the needs of this council, which may not really need this very often, right? So I look forward to just kind of talking about those situations. And in my scenario, and again, just like, Councilor Stratton, it's kind of just putting something out there just to have that conversation. But, you would just allot us like one session or 1 hour a year or two a term to each counselor. So you're not sitting around trying to decide who gets, and there's not one counselor spending all the money. And I mean, the reality is we could be doing that with Solicitor Seawald. I don't think that we really track and kind of, at least we don't track in a way of saying, you're spending this counselor is over there, over their time. That hasn't happened, and which is great. But so anyway, just to say that I think it's a really interesting subject. I think it's an enduring subject that comes up. And for me, it has nothing to do with the really solid, tried and true, counsel we get from Solicitor Seawald, but really about the gray area and the impact of legal opinions on our work here. So yeah, so that's my thing now, is just like, what if we wanted to do some sort of legal, alternative legal service, what would that model look like for this council and to meet the needs of this council? Okay. I think Councilor Loisel was next, and then I do see Councilor Perry and Councilor. Why don't you start with Councilor Loisel?
Sure. This will be brief. It's just, I wanted to just clarify. I think this is a proposal worth looking at. Maybe this isn't the exact proposal we'll ultimately come up with or settle on, but I really don't see. I listened to the community, whatever the meeting was, where it was Solicitor Seawald was speaking to the subcommittee, and he was really clear about his job and his duty, and I believe him, which is that it's to the city. He's not the mayor's lawyer. He's not the executive office lawyer. He's a lawyer for the city, and his job is to make sure that we don't do something wrong. We don't do pass some kind of law that's like going to get struck down in court or even get us sued. So I don't really feel like, I don't really have this view that at least Councilor Robbins seems to have, of like the city side and the council side. I see it as we're all kind of on the same team. But if people feel like they need a second opinion because they think they're, maybe they're not getting the, maybe there's another way to look at it, that's a different thing. But I don't really see it as so divided the way it's been presented. So I just want to say that I think it's worth looking at for reasons that it's come up over and over again. I also did speak with former Council President Dwight and to talk to him about his experience with Solicitor Seawald, and then we just sort of naturally got into the question of, independent lawyer for the. I mean, actually, I think I want to just say I think that Solicitor Seawald is independent. He's a lawyer. He's representing the city, not the mayor. But anyway, Councilor Dwight, did talk about the history of people bringing it up, but he said he did not think it was a good idea, for what that's worth.
Thank you. Laura, did you?
Okay, I hesitate to raise my hand, but as a city employee, I just want to say that I personally have had a legal question as to whether the city council actually can do this that I have not heard answered. And I just wanted to share with you guys what the charter actually says, how it defines the city solicitor. So it's actually the administrative code under the Administration and Finance Department. And I'm going to screen share it 1 second. Oh dear, now I'm losing the ability, or not finding the button that allows me to screen share. So, but it is, okay, section 2.02 under administration and finance, the city solicitor. And it says, the city solicitor shall be appointed by the mayor subject to confirmation by the city council and shall serve as legal counsel to the mayor and the city of Northampton. So that's what it says. And I've heard Councillor Stratton's interpretation that this refers to the mayor and the city departments. But I've wondered, isn't the council itself included under that city of Northampton? So I've just wondered if there's any barrier in the administrative code, the definition of the solicitor. So, and I'm sorry to raise that question, but
I appreciate it.
We haven't been able to ask Attorney Seawald, but so just wanted to put that out there.
That's no, I appreciate that, Laura, because I think you're trying to clarify what city of Northampton, does that include city council? Yes,
yeah.
That's the question. And, you know, the irony tonight is that it would be a conflict of interest for Solicitor Seawald to actually weigh in. So that's why he's not here for this conversation, because he has a vested interest in, you know, he could be seen to. It's really about, you could see to. All right, I see, oh, you're gonna screen share, okay.
I finally, oops, sorry.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Oh my goodness. I finally did find my ability to screen share. Whoops,
Great.
Okay, we slipped down a little bit. But this is where it is in the administrative code under 2.0 administration and finance. And then the definition is there. Cities. Why do I keep losing it? Sorry, but
it was there. I saw it.
So I just wanted to share it because to me, there may be a question as to whether that actually does define the solicitor as being the legal counsel to also the city council.
Huh, yeah. City solicitor, I'm going to write down this number.
I might respond to that.
Okay, so Laura, were you done with that? Thank you, because I actually looked in the administrative code and I didn't see the finance. I looked in another section. So so Laura's got that point. That was a point of information. I see I see Councillor Perry and Clemmer have their hands up. Councillor Stratton, did you want to want to speak to that? And then we'll get these last two, and then hopefully we'll move on. But yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I did have another broad thought that I would like to share, but specifically to Laura's question, I mean, the administrative code really is only the mayoral employees. Laura's job is not anywhere in or under the administrative code. Laura's job is entirely under the Charter Provision 2.8, power to employ staff, and the council rules. So in the thinking of this as a unique role, I was thinking of it strictly as a council rules power, and I think that's very clearly legal. I actually think that the sense of the body is maybe moving towards more the second opinion or the alternate opinion direction, and I would like to speak to that, but I know that there's some other hands up, so maybe they can go first, and then I will double back on that.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, why don't we'll hear from the two councillors that have their hands up, and then we'll circle back to you before we move on. Councillor Perry.
Thank you. I'm still old school. And I'll continue not presenting my opinions, but asking questions. And so my question is, has there ever been an instance where a city solicitor has denied anyone who requested a second opinion? Is there an instance where we need this? I understand that the question at hand is the conflict, but I don't see examples, and I'm really about solving problems and doing work, and so I'm just wondering that has anyone been denied a second opinion?
Well, I see Councillor Clemmer. I just wanted to speak to that, if that's okay, Councillor Clemmer. Just to that one thing, I just gave some examples when I was working on very specialized legislation that was, you know, some gray area around healthcare. Well, both the plastic reduction, the healthcare data, the policing. It's not that I was denied a second opinion, but it wasn't, it wasn't provided for me, and, you know, I would have to pay out of pocket, I guess, for that second opinion. I was able to get some second opinions from general lawyers in those fields, but that's not the same as a municipal lawyer. And so, yes, there have been, you know, I've written, as someone who writes legislation, yes, it does come up for me, that I would feel more confident even in the path forward if I got that second opinion.
Oh, can I follow up?
Yeah.
And the follow-up is, so what I've learned through some of these meetings is that, for instance, when the solicitor didn't feel comfortable dealing with a certain topic,
yeah,
we hire or we refer to another person. So you're telling me that instead of someone referring you to another person who has more information, you were told no?
No, that's not what I said. I said the opposite. I said I wasn't told no, and this isn't about Solicitor Seawald's comfort level. It's about mine as the legislator in an area that there's gray areas when there's more than one answer, and I would like to hear an alternative point of view before to feel confident in either path I go.
And so sorry to push back. Is that so? Did you request another opinion? Did you ask someone in our city that, hey, this doesn't feel comfortable? Could I talk to someone else? You were denied that, or
Council Perry, I think this is not a very productive. I denied. I don't know what that. I'm not sure what that even means in this. I'm saying I went to our city solicitor and I wanted a second opinion, whether you know, and there's not a clear path for me to do that, except personally I can try to, you know, pay out of pocket or find, you know, an activist lawyer, but that activist lawyer will not know municipal law. So I would like to move on because people are waiting, so who've been waiting. So Councilor Clemmer, and then I'd really like to wrap it up. So Councilor Robbins, is that something you, Councilor Clemmer, why don't you go, and then, because you've been waiting, and then we'll hopefully wrap this up.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
decide where we want to go.
I just want to speak to the issue you brought up earlier about having access to some lawyer for us. And I would be interested into exploring just having somebody that we can go to and giving the counselors, you know, something like an hour a term, an hour a year to use if they feel they need it. I mean, in the 2 years plus a few months I've been on council, I've never felt that I needed outside counsel. But I guess if people feel, you know, they might, like in your situation, it would be there and they would get whatever limited amount of time, an hour, whatever, and that would be it. You know, they can't take someone else's hour or, you know, burn through the whole thing. And, you know, and if there is money left over, and I would imagine many of us would not need to speak to this other person. The money would just go back into the pot. We wouldn't keep growing this fund. And something like that, I'd be interested in exploring as far as just having our own lawyer and having somebody on retainer. I don't feel that's necessary. I mean, we're all saying that we're very comfortable with Attorney Seawald, and he's been doing a good job, and he knows the city and he knows the players here, so he's able to help us quickly. He doesn't have to do a lot of research like an outside counsel might have to do too, which you know, the clock ticks whenever the lawyers do the research to help us out, so you can burn through money pretty quick. So yeah, I would something like that. I would be interested in looking into more, talking to the mayor about, and of course you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor Clemmer. All right, so Councilor Robbins, did you have something before we wrap this up? Go back to the sponsor and wrap it up.
Just very quickly to say that I want to be clear from where I'm coming from as a counselor is that I do see us as not. We are part of the city, but we are a separate entity in terms of it being a check and balance on the city. And to be a check and balance is different than being, it's not oppositional, it's not divisive, it's simply how we operate. It's how we're mandated to work. And being a check and balance, it's okay to say we are looking for different opinions on things. And I will remember just a couple of years ago where there was confusion about whether or not an opt-in was legal. And it's not that that's advice that we could expect everybody to have or go to, but it did have an end result on the thinking of the council. And in instances like that, it's good to be able to pick up the phone and say to somebody who has that expertise, can you pull that in for us and make it happen? But I like what I heard from Councillor Clemmer. I'm looking forward to having more conversation on this and revisiting it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for reminding us about the opt-in. Yeah, that was a tough, that's a gray area that we learned a lot about quickly. Okay, so we're going to go back to the sponsor and then we can decide what we want to do with this this order. Okay, Councilor Stratton.
All right, so I would really like to thank everyone for their input on this. And I had come to this from a sort of a separation of powers perspective. And I think what I'm really hearing in various ways is that it's not actually that, it's being able to have the right advice on a topic. And so, I have a spreadsheet I derived from Open Checkbook in front of me here, and I'm looking at the quarterly billing, and there's basically 5 law firms that are billing the city on a recurring basis, and they're billing anywhere from $300 to $35,000 because they're doing very different amounts of work based on the need of their expertise. And as we heard from the mayor, we're spending between $18,000 and $20,000 on legal advice to the city council right now. Some of that advice does indeed depend on knowledge of the city, but a lot of it actually depends on particular areas of municipal law. And actually, many times when people go to Solicitor Seawald, he has to do research because he's not familiar with that type of municipal law. And if we can talk to someone who's dealt with that issue before, there's actually an efficiency there. Granted, we might not get the same rate, but there is a trade-off there. And so what I would be really interested in exploring is, when someone is working on a particular problem, particular question of legislation, there has long been this idea that we could get a second opinion, but no one has ever gotten one in recent memory, a second legal opinion, actually paid by the city. People have to go out into the community and try to get free advice, and often those people don't have the municipal law background. So I would be really interested in maybe refocusing on trying to exercise the mechanism of, if President Maori is working on something and she needs a particular type of advice, being able to have pre-approved provider list or something where she could just go talk directly to the right person without sort of having to do this referral to specialist stage that's just running up a bill. There is an open question. We don't currently have a specific appropriation for council legal advice. It's this, $18,000 to $20,000, but there's no hard limit on it. And if we brought in, more providers on an approved list or something, yes, there would be some questions there. I don't think that we're really talking about spending drastically more money. It would be, spending it on the more targeted person. But, I think it's very clear that my colleagues do not want to move forward with that draft proposal that I put in front of you. And I wrote it for purposes of discussion, and I'm not sure I think it's the right idea anymore. So I don't think it makes sense to vote on that. But I would like to continue this discussion, look more at the, how we could get used to actually making use of other legal voices that are really targeted to a specific problem. So I think that's kind of where I want to leave my thoughts today.
Councilor Mario, you're muted.
Yep, there you go. My kid was opening a bag of chips, so I muted myself. But I was just thanking you for your kind of thoughtful analysis. So, there's a few options in front of us. Councilor Loisel, I was going to lay out our next steps, but if you have something brief, you
Can I say something quickly? I just feel uncomfortable because I don't think that it's true that many times Solicitor Seawald has to do research. He's been a municipal lawyer for 45 years. So he, all lawyers do research, but I think he is the best in the business. He knows municipal law. That's a separate question from whether, we want another lawyer that we can call on. But I just feel like I had to correct that record here.
Okay, thank you. So back to the, right, so the path forward. So there's different options, I guess. I could lay them out if Councilor Stratton, if you would like to, we don't have a motion on the floor yet.
Well, I had come into this prepared to indefinitely postpone it if it wasn't clear where we're going to go. I think that, it might come back as very different language, though. Might not even be a rules change. So I'm really open to ideas.
Right. Councilor Nabad.
I guess what I'm thinking is that, and this is really up to individual counselors. People have jobs and they have families and things like this, but I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to like an ad hoc committee to really, dig deep. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. One of the options, so we could vote on it and refer it. No, I'm sorry, we could vote on it, we could not vote on it, or we could vote to refer it. But it sounds like this is, kind of sounds like a bigger project. So if it were postponed, one thing we could do, legislative matters could have a general discussion about alternative, on various options, preferably not in the middle of budget season, but those are, I'm just laying out the options. I'm not weighing in exactly, but those are some of them. Wait, I think someone's hand. I see let's see, Councilor Loisel, did you?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, could we do something really informal? Like, because if the need is to occasionally have a second opinion, does the city council have some money where with the, permission of the president, people could use that money to get a second opinion, like you felt like you didn't have that access, but so just opening up a path to somebody getting a second opinion. Like, couldn't it be that simple?
It's simple. Well, yeah, we can use the money in the council budget, we can repurpose it. We were very, we all went to a lot of us went to the conference, so we have a little less than usual of that kind of, maybe that type, but there's a whole mechanism of like how to make that fair and but yes, the answer is that yes, that's a possibility, and that's one that I think we would discuss among options. I see, but Councilor Perry, and then maybe. Oh.
I always get excited when you pick me. So since there's no motion, I'm going to go to my kind of opinion thing. And I want to say that I am always supportive of support. I want every department, every person here in the city to feel like they can have a chance to have a second opinion. But really what I'm grappling with is again, Councilor Stratton said that he's going to pull this back, but is this really the way to get what we want? And I'm questioning what it is we want, what the problem we're trying to solve, because our job here as elected officials is to try and figure out ways to solve problems. Again, I am supportive of support. So if people need a second opinion, and that's why I asked, I wasn't trying to signal out or single out one person when I asked, has anyone been denied the access to a second opinion? And I've heard that you had to go, some people have had to go to their own legal recourse. I don't think that's right. So I would support you, for instance, Councilor or Council President Maori. You shouldn't have to do that. So I will always support. And for me, that is the crux of this issue. I have not been presented with an example of where this system has failed us. Not to say that it hasn't failed us, but I haven't seen it here. But what I want to say is that I really do want to let folks know, and everyone here in the council, is that a lot of what we do is it's learning. We get elected every couple years. It's hard. Onboarding is difficult. The things that we are faced with aren't what most people are faced with. And so I want to acknowledge that. And I think that a lot of this is about a support system. And if the question is whether or not our city solicitor supports us, I can tell you that I cannot say he has not or they have not supported us. There are many lawyers who have come into the calculation of that. And that's just my experience. But if other people have tangible evidence that we are failing folks with the current system, then let's get down to that. Otherwise, I think this is a conversation we should have. I think that every department, could use second advice. So I hope that we all take this into account. I feel we're going into this kind of realm of us versus them kind of things. And the reality is that we're all working together to try and make the city run. So I'm thankful for Councilor Stratton for bringing this up. And no matter what happens, this has been, for me, a useful conversation. So thank you, President Maori and everyone for engaging in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. And, you know, I will say that my impression is I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I felt like it actually hasn't been very us and them. It's been very collaborative, but I am anxious to move on. So I would like to get back to the sponsor about what they would like to do. Councilor Clemmer, is there something that is related to that, or can?
Yeah, real quick, I just want to respond to what Councilor Loisel spoke about, and I think what Rachel and I are proposing, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Council President. So
we're leadership.
Be shy, speak up. Yeah, so I think what we're proposing is what you were talking about just now, about having an option, and so a very small stipend for us to use equitably between the 9 of us, with a limited amount of time for a lawyer over the next term. So, but that needs to be discussed further, and also Councilor Stratton, I was wondering if it sounds like you might want to just withdraw this for now and rework it and bring it back.
Thank you.
Maybe this will appease whatever, need people feel it's something that we're missing right now.
Thank you. And thank you for describing our thoughts on that. Okay, back to you, Councilor Stratton.
Yeah, I think we can wrap this up pretty quickly now. What Councilor Perry said about, working cooperatively, and in some sense, what I wrote up was kind of going and doing our own thing. So what would be very interesting for me in the sort of near term is, if someone who actually did have need for other advice went and talked with Solicitor Seawald and the mayor and got the advice that they need for, their issue. And let's just, this pathway has theoretically existed. Let's exercise it and see how it goes. And I think that would actually be maybe the most interesting for me, pursuit of this topic. I'm maybe a little more hesitant on the 2 hours per counselor kind of thing, because that's sort of it's not tied to the need, it's tied to the office, and I think our needs vary sort of what we're working on, but that's personal. As for the specific agenda item, I would like to move to indefinitely postpone it, and I mean indefinitely in the sense that the council president could awake it, or it might just expire at the end of the term, never touched again. But I don't really think that document has an active role at this particular time. So I would move to indefinitely postpone it. Okay. And thank everyone for their time in discussing this.
Yeah.
I would second that.
Right. Thank you. And thank you for your work on this and this really interesting discussion. So I think postponing, I believe majority. That's interesting. Yes. Laura,
I think
we didn't make a motion. What'd you say?
I think it would just be a simple majority.
It's a simple majority, but there was never a motion. But no. I still think to postpone, we should vote for majority. Yeah. So let's do a roll call on postponement of the new business order.
Okay. Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins.
Yes.
Councilor Stratton.
Yes.
and Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Okay, so that's unanimous in the postponement, and I will be in conversation with Counselor Stratton about, if there's a time we want to, bring this back in what form, or I can be in communication with you. Clearly, it was very thought-provoking. So great work, counselors, and we only have one more item. This is 26.014, an order to approve the expenditure of Youth Commission gift funds for travel to the State House. Process note 2, readings are respectfully requested since travel is planned for March 5th before, we meet. And just also to say that this is actually the money the Youth Commission has raised themselves. It's not even, it's a small amount, and it's money they've raised themselves. So it's kind of, transferring it for this purpose of going to advocate for our schools at the State House, which I'm incredibly grateful for. So that's that background on that one. If we are happy to discuss, but I actually, it would be good if we could have a motion to suspend the rules to allow for 2 readings tonight.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to have
second
the
it.
meeting tonight.
Okay, so I see,
Second.
so Counselor Nabad made a motion, and I apologize. Counselor
Plummer.
Plummer, second. And then, so now, is there any discussion about suspension of the rules before we vote on that? Okay, roll call on suspension of the rules.
Counselor Clemmer,
Yes.
Counselor Loisel,
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Nabad,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Robbins,
Yes.
Counselor Stratton.
Yes.
Okay, Counselor Davis
Yes.
and Counselor Dobbs.
Yes.
Hope I didn't miss anybody somehow.
Oh, Counselor Robbins, did you get missed? Or
Oh, I want to make the motion.
oh, okay, go ahead. Actually, go ahead.
Sure. Okay. Motion 26014 to approve the expenditure of Youth Commission gift funds for travel to State House.
Okay, motion made.
Second.
And second by Counselor Perry. Made by, yeah, you got that. Okay. All right. So wow, that was very efficient. So now we can discuss. I'm not, I'm trying to do the motions before we discuss because I think it keeps us a little focused. And but we're always here for discussion if that's your right. So Counselor Perry.
Yeah, I will keep it brief, but I just want to say that in my work recently with the Youth Commission and all of our young folk who are here in the city, I've been so inspired. They're doing great work. They're amazing independent thinkers. They are taking what they have learned from us and what they've learned from their experience. And I am excited to approve them to go forward and push forward what is needed to help us in the future. We're dealing with tough times, and our city is the future. So I'm excited.
Thank you, Counselor Perry. I see, let's see, Counselor Stratton.
So, there's some things I'd like to talk about at some point in this area, but this issue is straightforward, and I'd be happy to vote to approve this.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Clemmer.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great they show the initiative and raise the money, and that they want to go to the State House and represent us here in Northampton, and they're doing some great work. And it's really inspiring to see younger people stepping up like this and being active in politics and our local issues here. So I support it. So I can make a motion. Is there a motion to approve?
It's already there. We're
Okay,
so
good.
efficient. There's already a motion. So if there's no more comments, I don't want to cut anyone off. We can vote. And so looks like we can do a roll call. And
Counselor
this is six, I'm
Loisel.
sorry, just to say 6, yeah, 6 votes. It doesn't, it's okay.
Yes. Counselor Loisel,
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Nabad,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Robbins,
Yes.
Counselor Stratton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Dobbs,
Yes.
and Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously, which is nice. That was our last item. Great work, everyone.
Move to adjourn.
Yes.
Second.
Okay. Roll call on adjournment. That was it was motion made by Council Perry, and actually, who was the second?
Loisel.
Oh,
Loisel.
Loisel. Councilor Loisel. It's a little harder on Zoom. Okay. Okay, roll call, please.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Nabad,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Robbins,
Yes.
Counselor Stratton,
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Dobbs,
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer,
Yes.
and Counselor Loisel.
Yes.
Okay. We are so adjourned. I'll see y'all next week. Take care. Oh,